Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Paige Sechler. If you are new here, how's it going? Nice to have you. Today's video is a Faith Friday. Obviously, that's why it's Friday. That's what the title says. You know, you get the drill. Two things. I've had a lot of coffee and I'm really excited to film this video. And my hair is crazy. Three things. But I've been trying to like rock my natural curls this past month, like for summer, and I'm kind of liking it. It's like a whole kind of look a little bit. Like, I don't know what some of these are doing. Like, look at that guy. He's so curly. I am so super excited to film this video, and I have tried to do so much research to like prepare for this video, and I feel like no amount of research will ever do it justice. But today, as you know from the title already, but we are talking about how to be a godly woman. So I have compiled a list of 10 or 11 women that were talked about in the Bible, that their personalities, their traits, their stories, we can directly kind of translate and use in today's day and age, that we can use as an inspiration. I have been so excited to film this video though, and I just kept like, I would read more and do more research, and then I'd have somebody else to add to the list. So I figured if I keep finding more, I can always do a part 2, but these were the most not the most common, these are the biggest ones that really stuck out and spoke to me. Before we start, let me kind of break down like how I'm going to do this. So I'm going to tell you the woman who we're talking about, the book of Bible that it takes place in, and then the personality traits that I think we need to try to incorporate into our own lives and things about ourselves. And that may be just their personality in general, the way they handled the situation they were in, the way they carried themselves, the way they worshiped God, things like that. So that's kind of how we're going to do things. So the first woman that we're talking about is Esther. Now if you're not familiar with the Bible yet, that's okay. Esther is actually its own book in the Bible. Also, if I keep looking down, like I do have my notebook down here, like to reference, you know, what I'm saying. The things that we should look for in ourselves to be like Esther would be to be bold and courageous. Something that stood out so much in the book of Esther about her is that she was bold and courageous to tell the truth and to stand up for what she believes in. I think we need to remember that it's okay to voice our own opinions and fight for the good of others, even when it means that we might have to sacrifice ourselves. And like in Esther also, we're taught, and it's something to remember, that God's not going to put us in a situation that he doesn't want us in. God puts us there for a purpose, and even though we might not know the purpose, whatever we are doing through that situation needs to be for the glory of God. Esther really teaches us through the whole book just never to heed your inner voices, never to not listen to what you're feeling, never stuff away your thoughts and your feelings and your opinions, to voice them, especially when it's for God. All right, the next little lady we're talking about is Ruth. She is absolutely incredible. Another woman that has her own book in the Bible, which is awesome. Ruth teaches us a lot of things too, and I think a lot of that is too because it is a whole chapter. It's not just one story out of the Bible. She has her own chapter. Ruth really teaches us a lot about relationships. It teaches us how we're supposed to carry ourselves in a relationship. Ruth really teaches us that we're supposed to be loyal in our relationships, that we are to walk the extra mile. And when I say relationships, just to clarify, yes, Ruth talks about husband and wife relationships, but I'm talking in the sense of every relationship. In today's day and age, carry that in every relationship. Whether it is with your spouse or your sister or your father or your grandparents, whoever that may be, go that extra mile and be loyal, and to not quit when things get tough. That is something in marriages, especially, well, in friendships too, but in marriages, they give up so easily, and that's because they lack God. They lack faith in their marriages. It's an ungodly marriage, and that is, I think, a huge reason why marriages don't succeed. But Ruth does teach us that we need to be loyal, we need to be faithful. The book of Ruth and Ruth herself also teaches us that someday we will be able to see why we went through everything we did, that what we went through was all worth it. Next little lady we're going to talk about is Lydia. The Bible talks about Lydia in Acts 16. Lydia really teaches us to open our homes to people, to be generous, to be giving to those that need it, to open your house, to do it to serve the Lord, to be generous to serve the Lord, not to be generous to say that you were generous, to be generous in God's name. Lydia's heart was big enough to help anybody, and that's what I want to be so badly, is just to be able to drop everything and go help somebody. And that Lydia also, one of the biggest things, and I just think the most heartwarming things, is that in Lydia, that Lydia in Acts, when they talk about Lydia, it really just shows that your joys are better when you share them with other people. And I just think that is so, it's almost like a duh moment, but it's also like a that makes sense. Like when you open your heart and show your kindness to the world, more kindness is going to be shared and about, and it's just going to make you even happier and even better and make it even more worth the wait. And I feel like that's something that is like, seems so simple, but is so important to like incorporate in our day-to-day lives, you know? Okay, the next girl, or the next woman, is Hannah. Hannah is talked about in 1 Samuel. There's 2 girls talked about in 1 Samuel. This is the first one. And the biggest thing to take from Hannah is that we should never cease to pray. Prayer is such an important aspect of our faith. I mean, that is our main communication with God, with our Father, and I think it's so important to have such strong prayer, and Hannah really, really shows and demonstrates that when they talk about her in the book 1 Samuel. The other lady that they talk about in 1 Samuel is Abigail, and what we need to take from Abigail and her story is that every single decision that we make in life can affect us for the good or for the bad. It teaches us that we really need to be very wise when making decisions in our life, because it's not just a simple yes and no sometimes. It's not just a simple, easy decision. We need to be very wise because every decision we make can change our lives. All right, next we have Miss Mary, of course. Mom Mary, I should specify. So Mary is talked about a lot throughout different chapters in the Bible. She's most prevalent, and the lessons we take from her the most are in Matthew. Mary teaches us to be humble and submissive, which we know is not always the easiest thing to do. And it just really shows us the story of Mary. Mary as a whole just shows us that you don't have to be the perfect person for God to pick you as one of his disciples, as one of his followers, as one of his people, to accept as one of his children. You don't have to be great. You don't have to be the perfect person for God to choose you. But we also learn from Mary that when God does choose you, even if you may doubt him, to always obey him, always listen to him, always be there and be ready for when he does call us. Next we have Dorcas. I don't know if that's how you say her name, but I've always said, since I was like this big, I've always pronounced her name in my mind Dorcas. Dorcas, I don't know how you say it, Dorcas, I don't know. But Dorcas is talked about in the book Acts chapter 9, and what we learn from her is to use the talents that God has blessed us with, even if they are this big, bigger than we can even fathom, that we don't know what to do with. We need to use our talents that God gave us, because God gave us this talent for a reason, whether that's to make somebody's day or to save somebody's life or to just make them laugh on an awful day. God gave us our talents for a reason, and we need to not hide them, not keep them a secret. We need to show the world what our talents are, because God made each and every one of us individually. He handcrafted us, so we have these talents for a reason. Don't be afraid to show them. Next we have Elizabeth. We hear about Elizabeth's story in Luke chapter 1, and Elizabeth really teaches us to never ever doubt what God can do, because he is a miracle worker, he is a way maker, he makes things happen. We have a God of many miracles, and Elizabeth is the perfect example of that. Next girl is Mary Dose. She's Mary Magdalene, and we hear about Mary Magdalene all throughout the New Testament, the beginning of the New Testament, like Matthew, Mark, Luke, John is, I think, mostly when we hear about Mary Magdalene. What we learn from Mary Magdalene is to never let your mistakes and judgment of other people stop you from experiencing the joy of Jehovah. Okay, lady number, I don't know, but we got Rebecca up next. Now, we hear about Rebecca in the book of Genesis, so right at the very beginning of the Bible. And what we learn from Miss Rebecca is that true beauty comes from within. We learn that we are supposed to draw our loved ones closer to God. We're supposed to help bring our loved ones closer to God through our own character. We're supposed to be demonstrating a Christian attitude, mindset, lifestyle to draw others closer to him, and I think that's wonderful. I think that should be the goal for every Christian woman, honestly. And lastly, our last beautiful soul is Sarah. Again, we hear about Sarah in the book of Genesis, beginning of the Bible, and we learn from Sarah that age doesn't matter. Sarah teaches us that we need to trust that all things are possible with God according to his time. not ours. Again, saying age doesn't matter because God can do whatever he wants at whatever age he wants for us. So what I really want for you guys to get out of this video is to be able to hear these people's names, hear these women's names, and feel inspired by them. And I want you, if you can, to pull out your Bible and then check out the chapters that I told you that, you know, these women are talked about in, and read their stories, learn about them. Not all at once, but kind of make that maybe your next Bible study a little bit, is to learn about these women and then, you know, take notes and about their character and their story and incorporate it into your own lives, because that is truly the best way to be a godly woman, is to learn from women that history have shown us to be incredible. So that is all for this video. I want to end with a verse that you can probably guess, but it is Proverbs 31 verse 25. And it is one of my favorite verses. I think it's a lot of people's favorite verses. I just love Proverbs 31 in general. It is such a good chapter to read if you are looking to be a godly woman. But Proverbs 31:25 says, "She's clothed with dignity and strength and laughs without fear of the future." And I think that is just so wonderful, because we're clothed with dignity and strength because God is with us. God is a cloak over us. He's our covering. And we laugh without fear of the future because God knows our future. God has our future, and he's protecting us from whatever is coming our way. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Comment down below some other women in the Bible if I didn't mention them, some that inspire you. And I am so thankful that you guys were here and able to hear this message. I hope that you guys subscribe and come back for next week's video. Love you. Bye.